Hello, Education 1030 students. I hope everyone had a great week. So, this week we're going to learn about how to be an effective communicator. So, in the last module 6, you looked at critical thinking, different ways of thinking about your thinking. What does college level thinking look like? How do I prepare for exams? What does it look like to prepare and understand the text that I'm reading? So really this chapter is going to look at how could you become a better communicator? So what barriers are there and how do we develop this most important skill that you can develop in your life? So no matter what your career focus is or what you're majoring in, every career field requires that you become an effective communicator. This is a wonderful life skills that you can learn to develop if you feel that you're not so confident, or maybe you're not feel that you're a good communicator, an effective one. Maybe you can't get your points across, or maybe you don't get along with people, or maybe it's hard for you to see other people's side. So this chapter might help with that. So what kind of objectives are we going to look at? So we're going to articulate how diverse voices have been historically ignored or minimized in American civic life, education, and culture. Describe categories of identity and experience that contribute to diverse points of view. Acknowledge implicit bias and recognize privilege. Evaluate statements and situations based on their inclusion of diverse perspectives. And those objectives are really going to help us master our course outcomes. Now, remember, the course outcomes are the ones that you have to master by the end of the semester. So, assess and accommodate individual learning styles as a means to understand the liberal arts, process of critical thinking, and the diversity of a college campus. And then navigate the course management system, eLearn, and other college success technologies. Now, how are you going to be assessed this week? So, you will have your Module 7 quiz. Remember, you have multiple attempts during that quiz window, so take advantage. And you will have a homework assignment. Now, instead of submitting something to the Dropbox, you will be posting to a discussion board. Okay, so you will submit to the Barriers of Effective Communication discussion board and respond to at least 2 classmates. You do have the option to earn bonus points in this unit. Um, so Module 6 had a reading organizer and Module 7 does as well, so that's optional. I do want to note though that even though this module is labeled Module 7, you're actually going to be reading in Chapter 9. Okay, so just make sure that when you're in your textbook, it's Chapter 9 and it's labeled Understanding Civility and Cultural Competence. Now, I did go ahead and link the textbook in here. Some people honestly find it easier to just have the PDF downloaded. If you forget how to do that or you lost it and you don't know where it's at in your computer, you can always search in your computer. But if you never did that, I would go back to week 1 and getting started and look in that section because that will tell you how to download. I personally prefer the download because you can just click, and you don't have to click on all these links that are embedded. So that's an option for you. And then sometimes too, it gives you the full text, all the tables, everything is there. So the ebook is in one section. That might be the way to go. But you are welcome to use the links as well. So there's the link for the Module 7 quiz. And then I do want to preface, you're going to see 2 discussion board sections here. But one of them is the actual discussion board itself. So this link will take you directly to the discussion board. So if I were to click on it, it would take me here, which is the discussion board. The first one is actually going to be a worksheet that you're going to use to help you post in the discussion board. Okay. So if you click on the worksheet, it looks like this, and I went ahead and downloaded it. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to actually use your textbook. There's a table in the textbook 9.2 called microaggressions. And what I want you to do is I want you to use that table. And in the table, you're going to see different categories, right? And for instance, this category is educational status or situation. And what you're going to do is you're going to choose at least one microaggression in each category. So if you had the category educational status situation, there may be more than one microaggression listed there. You would pick one of those microaggressions under that category, and then you would think of a way that if you were an athlete, if someone said to you, "You're an athlete, you don't need to study," you might be offended. But instead of saying something ugly back to the person, think about what you would be like to be acknowledged for, explaining your situations where you could break that stereotype or make them see your perspective and what some athletes can do, where they work hard studying just like they do out in the field and they perform well on both. So you would write your perspective and describe it to that person. So you would do that for each category. And remember, you do have to use table 9.2. If for some reason when it got embedded and it's not there, you could also go to the textbook, the PDF, and it should be in there because that's the full ebook, which is all located in Getting Started module. So look that up if you need to see it. So that will be your assignment. Once you finish that worksheet, what you will do is then click on the discussion board itself. And using your thoughts based on what you did, remember, you're not going to submit that worksheet. It's just going to help you with your post. So what you're going to look at is you're going to read this and answer the questions. It says that words and thoughts can be a slippery slope. This means humans may not realize how small verbal words here and there have weight. These words, actions, and thoughts can be good or they can be bad. The discussion is an activity of self analysis and self reflection. After you have worked with your group on the microaggression, which you did it individually because we're not in class, you're going to rewrite from table 9.2 from chapter 9 this week. And I want you to reflect on the meaning of microaggression in your own world and then respond to the following prompts which are here. The definition of microaggression can be found in Navigating the Diversity Landscape, and there's a link there for you. Okay, so here's the 3 questions you need to answer in the post. Have you or someone you know felt to be the victim of a microaggression? How did that make you or that person feel? Did it change how you treat others or how you'd want to be treated? Okay, remember, you need to post your answers and then you will respond to at least 2 classmates. I did want to also draw your attention that we are working on our um, exploring the field presentation. So if you go into the module, there's 2 sections in here. The first one's about exploring the field career reflections, and the second one is the actual presentation itself. Now, when you start putting this together, and I will be doing a separate video for this, I'm going to show you, and I'll send out an email, some of the tools that you can use to help you create the presentation because since this is an online class and you're not going to actually be able to submit in person to the class, you're going to have to record yourself and your screen. So there's lots of wonderful tools to use. I will be doing a separate video that I will be sending out next week that and I'm also going to see an email before that time. So read the email and then I will send a follow-up video that kind of will show you a couple of the tools you can use. Now you do have to have a visual aid because remember you're recording yourself and your screen. Your screen is going to have your presentation. Now you can be as creative as you want. You do not have to stick to PowerPoint. You could use Prezi, Book Creator, you could use Google Slides, Canva. There's lots of different ways that you can put a presentation together. So you create it, you already have your outline. If you've gotten permission to put your presentation together, then start thinking about how you want to record. Make sure the presentation looks really good, really well. If there's any revisions that need to be made, make sure that you do that. Now, um, This we've already talked about, so I'm not going to go into that too much. I did want to note that there is a chance for you to actually earn up to 10 bonus points, and I sent an email out about this, so please read it. If you interview someone in the career field, um, you can actually earn up to 10 bonus points if you submit what we call an interview. So, what you would do is you would interview a person. Now, I did list questions here that you may ask them, or you can ask your own, but you would type it up in a Word document. You would put the questions and their answers, what's their name, where they work, contact number for their work, and then you would submit it to the Exploring the Field visual Dropbox, visual presentation Dropbox. And remember, this is your presentation. This is what you're doing your slides on. This is what you're presenting on. This may not necessarily be your career interest. And what I mean by that is I've had some people that, yes, they're presenting on what they're interested in, what they're majoring in. But some people decided to do a presentation on something that they're not really sure that that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're teetering between two majors and they don't know and they haven't declared, or maybe they're general studies. So, this is what you're presenting on. So, if you say that you did a presentation and you're going to present, or excuse me, you put a presentation together on nursing, then it would help you to do an interview with someone who is a nurse. I mean, if you're going to do a presentation on education or business management, I don't necessarily think that I'd want to see an interview where you interviewed a chef, right? That doesn't make any sense. So just make sure you're interviewing someone that has to do with the career you're presenting on. And that can earn you up to 10 bonus points. That's an additional to what you make on your presentation. I also want to explain to you that if you look at um, our calendar in our class, and even under, if you're going in order, it's very linear on our table of contents, you're going to see that we're almost finished with unit 3. This is module 7 is it for unit 3, and then we have our exam, and then we're going to be moving into the job readiness module, which is where you're going to do your career portfolio. So the next video that you're going to be seeing is going to be talking about your career readiness module, as well as um, the different tools you could use to help you record your screen. Okay, and I will be sending an email, so please read that as well. All right, I hope everyone has a great week. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Until next time, take care.